Dearly beloved, we have gathered here today to get through this thing called Mix CD. My name is Mike, part of the SPDM crew, and I love making Mix CDs. Each week, we give our guests a theme and an 80-minute time limit for which songs they're going to pick for their Mix CD. This week, we are talking theme songs of my life. Very abstract topic, and one that I'm excited to dive into because this can go in a lot of different directions. And I have here a good friend of mine and someone we haven't chatted in a while, so I'm glad that I reached out to you because I thought that you were somebody who would really dive into a topic when it comes to music. So please welcome to the podcast. I have my friend Raven. Welcome. How's it going?
Hello, it's going pretty good. I'm very excited to do this. This is like everything to me.
Yeah,
Playlist, talking about music. So this is like right up my alley, you know.
exactly. Exactly. This was something because I noticed that you like to post stuff about music, you like to post stuff about playlists, and that's why what inspired me to reach out. So I sent you a giant list of bullshit topics that you could talk about when it comes to a playlist of this nature. So, right off the bat, why theme songs of your life? What was it about this topic that really stood out to you?
Yeah, I chose theme songs of your life because I felt like it was the most universal of all of the topics. They were all really good topics that I could have done so much with, but I wanted to pick something that would like connect with everyone of like
Mhm.
any age. And it's also just like the way like lyrics and just like the way music makes people feel is something that we don't really talk about as much as we should. Because I feel like, music is something that everyone makes a deep connection with. You get into a breakup, you listen to sad breakup songs, you listen to Taylor Swift, but people don't really talk too much about like in depth about how the music makes them feel and how they connect with it. And I think it's important to have those discussions. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm I'm in the same boat completely with you on that. That's kind of how I interpreted this. And for a lot of these songs, it was built on two basic founding or like guiding principles for me is that one, is there a lyric somewhere in here that kind of just made me feel something? And what was kind of like the state of mind like the first couple of times that I heard this? And since then, what has been the thing that has kind of kept this part of my playlist, I guess, that has kind of withstood a little bit of the test of time. Some of these songs, I'm not going to lie, they're a little embarrassing for me, so I'm going to get a little vulnerable in this respect, but also it represents so many different eras of my life as well to take a Taylor Swiftism in a way, even though
Exactly.
it's not like Taylor Swift was the first person to pioneer something like that. But at the same time, I take a look at a lot of these and I have some of these songs that were from childhood, some of these songs were from high school, some of these songs were from college, some of these songs were are pretty recent for me in terms of how it feels to be like a parent and how it feels to be, a partner to somebody. So there's a lot here and it's gonna be an interesting conversation. So walk me through a little bit more of your process in terms of what else you were looking for in your songs, and also let me know, did the order of the songs matter to you?
Yeah, so I actually did the exact same thing as you. I kind of just went through like all of the music that I've like listened to throughout my whole life. I go through like phases, and a lot of them are reflective of like my age and like the things that I've experienced in my life. And that's like a universal experience. Like you grow and your music taste grows and what you connect with changes over time. But I also wanted to have something for someone of like any age. I already kind of said that, but I kind of wanted to put, I guess, like go into different human experiences. The human experience is like the main the core idea basically behind like what I chose for everything in general. Because the human experience is different, but also the same for
Mhm.
everyone. So I wanted to have like some variety in like genres, just like artists, as much as I could to just get all all encompassing songs on there. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
pretty much it.
Yeah. Did you arrange these in any particular way,
Oh,
or did you
yeah.
or did
Yeah.
you kind of just make your list, do some cuts, and then that was it?
So when I was making it, I didn't arrange it in a specific way, but after I went through, I listened to the playlist all the way through a couple of times. I did it in order, so that I could figure out, is this a good order the way I have it? But the way I ordered it is basically from childhood through adulthood to like the last song is basically about the end of your life. So
Mhm.
I just kind of wanted to make it like that, but also it's kind of like there's a variety, especially like in the middle of it,
Mhm.
because people experience things in their life, like life experiences at different times. It's not linear essentially for everyone. So I kind of wanted to put that in there. So the middle of it is kind of just like up and down, and
Mhm.
then it rises and it ends.
Mhm.
And it's like a release. There's a
Mhm.
lot about like release I'll talk about, but there's a lot about release in my playlist because it's something that like music can help a lot with, especially like music talks a lot about like stuff like heartbreak, just like
Mhm.
moving past things, and that's a really important part of living life,
Mhm.
and that's something that music can help a lot of people do. So I
Mhm.
kind of just wanted to put that as kind of like a core idea, I guess, is the
Mhm.
way I would put that. Yeah.
It's a great way to put that. And kind of similar to you, I originally didn't have an order to this, and even up until like a couple minutes before we started recording, I was still tinkering a little bit with this. And I ended up not so much doing something in linear order, kind of similar to what you did. I kind of did things kind of based on, you talk about release. And what I kind of found with mine is that mine is kind of like a wave shape in a sense,
Hmm.
is that, you know, you have kind of like you're at the ground level and then you go down because shit happens in your life. And whether in you know heartache, that's a great one to kind of lead off with, because you know heartache can mean a lot of different things, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in a friendship, whether it's in something that you didn't get, or you got in trouble or something like that. A lot of that goes into these experiences, because I had this conversation with my oldest, or with my daughter Gwen, about how, like, in Inside Out 2, when they leave out all like the bad stuff and you only get like the good stuff in there, it's like that's not representative of who you are as a person, because if only good things are going to happen to you, then you're not, I, I guess for lack of a better word, you're not living, but also it's not realistic to ever get to that point. Something's going to happen to you that's going to suck, and how you deal with it is a major part of this experience we call life, I guess. So I am very curious about your list. One last question before we get into some of the songs. Did you have any like hard cuts that you had as like, second pass, that this would be, maybe make your playlist, or any songs on here that you're like, oh, this was really tough to cut, but that's kind of the thing. That's kind of the shtick with this, right? Is that you only get 80 minutes, my dorky mix CD length, but were there any cuts on here that you're like, shit, I can't believe I cut that?
I mean, I'm fairly happy with like
Mhm.
everything I chose. I got a good variety of like everything I listened to, but there was sometimes when I was like, I want to put in another song by the same artist that's already on the playlist, but I didn't want to do that. But I also like I didn't want to repeat genres too much. It was all very like hard because there were just so many songs that I was like, gosh, this is like really the life experience. But I did want to, so I tried my best to like put everything that I wanted in terms of like points to be made and
Mhm.
like life experiences, like every kind of life experience for anyone of any age. I know I already said that, but that's like age is something that is like a I guess like a core subject maybe is the best way to
Yeah.
put that in like my playlist. But there's also a sense of agelessness in a lot of the songs because there's a lot of songs that are ageless.
Mhm.
But the choice is in like the age ranges that I chose for each song. It's kind of just like reflective of the experiences that you have at that time in your life. And there was a lot of songs that I wanted to put for like
Mhm.
mostly the things that I've experienced at the ages that I've lived because I am only 22. So
Mhm.
I don't have the late adulthood life experiences yet. So I wanted to try my best to like be empathetic and like
Mhm.
take from just like what I've seen from everyone else's life and the things that they've experienced. But yeah.
Well, and this is where I think maybe you're not giving yourself as much credit for that because yes, you're in your early 20s, but at the same time, there's been a lot of shit that's happened in your life, right? You know?
Yes.
So like the what was it? I think I was reading that all the people who were born in like the year 2000 around that time, it's like you do realize that all those people have lived through 9/11, Great Recession, COVID, Trump, all of that stuff. That's a lot. That is a lot of shit that you've had to experience in a very short amount of time. So I think you're selling yourself a little bit short about the experiences that you're having, but I get what you're saying as well, that there's still a lot of life to live as well, and there's still a lot to experience, and there's still a lot to learn. And which is why, like, I kind of look at my playlist and I have some things in here that I'm like, yeah, like these are pretty timeless songs. Well, maybe not, but and I see some of these like maybe they're timeless to me, but I also have two songs in here that are all instrumental. I have one song that like this is as close to as a cheat as I'm gonna get. One song that is technically a slam poem. So, you
Hell
know.
yeah. Hell
Huh.
yeah.
So, and like these are all just different things that have just stuck with me for a long time. And my original list was about 3 hours long because when you're putting something like this together, you just take from all of the other random lists that you have or the things that you could just remember off the top of your head and just add them in a list. And then you're just like, shit, what do I do now with this? So I don't have anything in particular that is like a hard, like, I can't believe I didn't add this on. But I have a feeling that one of these days, let's just put it this way. I have a feeling that one of these days I'm gonna make a volume two of this because as you remember stuff or as you continue to experience stuff. Yeah, so that's why, I will probably title this Theme Songs of My Life Volume 1 and, get away with that in the sense be like, well, I didn't get everything I wanted in the first list, so I'll just make a second one. So, yeah. All right. How many songs did you have on your list?
22. I built this with the time restriction in mind. So
Hmm.
I was looking at how long it was.
Hmm.
based by every like song I added, and I wanted to try to get like there's some shorter songs in there, but there's also like some longer ones. But I just tried to like get everything in there, and this was a little easier for me to make because I kind of already have playlists similar to like this subject. So I kind of just went to the playlists that were about
Exist.
that
Ex-
essentially. Yeah. And I'm definitely gonna make a part two. I do mine in parts.
all good.
I definitely will have to do a part two.
So I have 21 songs on my list, and I am at exactly an hour and 20 minutes on this. And
Awesome.
now, because the weird thing is that if if I were making a mix CD, I'm not even sure that this would all fit on the list because it would, or I'm not even sure that it would fit on the CD because sometimes CDs are finicky like that. But I as long as Spotify tells me that it's an hour and 20 minutes, I'm calling it and I'm like, okay, cool. I got it. So, since we have around a similar amount of songs, why don't we group this in threes? So, you go your first three, I'll do my next three, and then we just keep going with groups of three because I've done it back and forth when it's one, like just one to one, and I don't want to say it took forever, but it kind of did. So, uh,
Yeah.
so, so let's start with, do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
I'll let you go first. I want to know what you put together. Because I know what I put together, but I don't know what you put together.
All right. These three are easily probably my most embarrassing songs. And yeah, those I would agree with that. Okay. So, I wanted my first song to be rooted in the phrase I believe somehow. And like I have a go-to song for something like that, but I ended up not picking it because I've put it on other playlists before. So for the sake of variety and the sake of trying to change things up a little bit, my first song is called Affirmation by Savage Garden. And I
That's a
see what you're
sick title.
I see what you're doing right there. So the first time I heard this, it was from it was in high school, my freshman year, second semester, I took a studio production class, and we had to make a family tree type of production, and we had to pick a song in the background. My song, looking back at it, was grossly inappropriate for the song that I picked. I am taking that one to the grave. Maybe I will tell you afterwards. But yeah, it's funny when you look back at some of the songs that you liked in high school and you're like, yeah. And then you determine, oh, this is what the song's actually about. Like, I'm a fucking idiot. Like, why did I not listen to that? But somebody picked this song and I liked it. It's got a good beat. It's basically a set of I believe statements. Like the first lyric is like I believe the sun should never set upon an argument. I believe that happiness comes in other or comes or doesn't come from other people's hands. Things like that. So I asked the individual, "Where did you first hear this song?" Granted, Savage Garden was like kind of a bigger band when I was in high school, but also Savage Garden was something that people were always embarrassed to admit that they liked listening to, like I'm doing right now. So she told me that the first time that she heard this was at the 2000 Olympics in Sydney, where this was like the theme song for it. I was like, well, that's weird.
That's
So
an interesting
so
selection.
but I look back at this song and it sums up a lot of different things that I really admire that people can just put that out there and say I believe in blah blah blah, and it's like all kinds of different things. It's not like he's just talking about, political beliefs or religious beliefs or anything like that, although it touches on all of that. And it's there is something to be said about wearing your values on your sleeve like that in such a way because I try to do that as much as possible. And like I even have some of like these I believe statements in a way kind of like I because I've got three tattoos and that's very important to me when it comes to tattoos is that they have some type of meaning or significance beyond just, you know, something that's, artistic or something, messaging is very important to me. So I ended up picking that one as my first song as a good way just to introduce this concept that, of theme songs of your life and one theme song that, or one theme of my life that I strongly believe in is that, stick to your beliefs and yeah, go from there.
I like that. I really like that. Now I'm gonna have to. I don't have your playlist saved. I'm gonna have to get your
Oh,
playlist when we're done.
yeah, I will definitely send it to you. Actually, I'll just no, you know what? I'm gonna keep it a surprise. My next song. I thought a lot about songs that I've experienced being like being a dad in a way, and a song that came up of all places, it just like I can't even look at you right now while I admit this that I have a song from the Ugly Dolls soundtrack because it's such a stupid movie, but there is a song on there. It's called Unbreakable, and it's one that Gwen, when she watched it, she was like, "That's a really good song, and that's a really good message." I was like, "Really? What do you think is the message that's being taken away from this?" Is that, and she specifically singled out the lyric where it says like, "Show them who you are, show them that you're strong, show them that you know where you belong." I was like, "That's very introspective for a 7-year-old
I was gonna say.
to identify that." But we also kind of talked a little bit about this, about how being unbreakable is not always the healthiest thing because that is putting a lot of undue pressure on yourself. And as somebody who suffers from anxiety, I put undue pressure on myself all the time. So Unbreakable is actually I love the lyrics of this. I love the conversation that I had with Gwen with this, even though I don't necessarily agree with the message behind it, especially in a kids movie. But that's also a lot of kids movies to a T is that, huh, this is the message that you're trying to send to my child. Okay, cool, 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 cool. Because it's saying that like, hey, you should be unbreakable. It's like, well, counterpoint, why do we have to be unbreakable? Why can't society stop being assholes to people?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so it's like I get what you're trying to tell me, but I remember the conversation that I had with Gwen when we first listened to this, and also it comes at a part in the movie where I'm like, oh, this was a cool sequence, and I enjoyed this. Plus, it's by Janelle Monáe and Kelly Clarkson.
Oh, Janelle. I love
Mhm.
Janelle
Yeah,
and Kelly, but Janelle.
Janelle mainly. And then my last song, this is I picked the song "Everything Is Awesome" from the Lego Movie because
Yes, yes.
the reason why I picked "Everything Is Awesome" is because 90% of the time when I quote this song, it is when everything is not awesome. And I use this as, just it's such a good song just to use in like, hey, let's just conform and let's just, pretend like everything's okay when in reality everything fucking sucks right now. So I pick that because I know I do that all the time. I know that that's something where I always try to say that I'm fine and that everything's okay. But in reality, no, not everything is awesome, nor should everything be awesome all the time. So I know that is not the message that the song is trying to tell me, but I cannot deny that I use this as a gift anytime that someone is like, "How you doing?" and I'm in a shit mood and I just send them this. It's like everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of the team, right? So yeah, that is those are my first three. And now that I look at it, some of my next ones are a little embarrassing as well. But whatever, it's fine.
That's
I'm owning
okay.
I'm owning this. This is my list. And I'm not saying that because I think you're judging me or anything like that, because
I'm
I know
not.
that's not the case. But yeah, I am just putting myself out there, and this is the list that I came up with for my first three.
I mean,
So
that's life. That's life.
it's
It's your life, and like, but also we all have songs that we like that we think we're embarrassed to like, but we shouldn't be in reality, because you
mhm.
like what you like and you relate to what you relate to, and lyrics are all like somewhat like different, and everyone's gonna get something different from everything, but there's also something to get from everything at the same time. And I
Mm.
really like that you chose Everything is Awesome. I love the Lego movie. I think that's an ageless movie. I think it's very much it is like and everything is not awesome all the time, because sorry I'm getting into the Lego movie, but like the main character, like his life, he's like trying to feel awesome, but it's not awesome and he
No.
feels lonely. And like that's like it's about just trying to pretend like everything is okay when it's not,
Mhm.
basically, is like why they made the song in the first place, is to brainwash people into being like this perfect society. So I really
Mhm.
like that choice. I really like that choice.
Cool. All right. All right. You're up. Give me your first
I'm
three.
up. All right. I gotta check to remember. All right. So my first song is actually my favorite song, to the point where I have it tattooed on my arm. It's called Be an Astronaut. It's by Declan McKenna. I have a little astronaut helmet with like the title. It's the start to my music sleeve, if
Mhm.
that didn't say anything else about how obsessed with music I am. But I want to like talk about a little about the artist first. He does a lot with like very like raw lyrics in terms of like living life, that and it's and it's always kind of like nostalgic in a way, but also like upbeat, and it makes you kind of like it makes you introspective. His lyrics are a little weird, so you have to really think about it and think about like yourself and where you fit into it and how you relate to it. But I chose this as like my first song because I feel like it's a song for younger people, like kids, but also like early teens. But it's also something that is applicable throughout your life. It's kind of about just like having, lofty dreams and goals that are truly achievable, like being an astronaut if you put your mind to it. But, being an astronaut, that's obviously something that like takes a lot of work in school, and you feel like you have to be the smartest person ever to do it, and that's how people view being an astronaut. You have to be a genius, but people will put you down in your life and make you think that you can't accomplish the things that you want to, especially like, family. That's like a big thing, but
Mhm.
also your peers. So the song like sort of serves as a reminder to not listen to others, and kind of like pushes you to like believe that you can accomplish your goals, believe that you can be an astronaut if you want to be, because if you put your mind to it, you can. And like discouragement and people telling you can't does really make a difference in like what you do with your life, and like outsider input severely impacts like where you
Mhm.
go in terms of like career, school, all of it. And I I really love that message, which is one of the
Mhm.
reasons why I have it tattooed, like I can do whatever I want to do. But like also musically, the instrumental part of the song is just beautiful. It is, it kind of just like goes through, it starts like kind of like soft. It's very heavy, like soulful, like piano and guitar. I love his band. He's an incredibly talented musician. He can play every instrument in the world. So I really love that. But like musically, like the instrumental part, it takes you on like a rough-ish accelerated journey, much like life is. It's intense. And there's like a very, like I said, like soulful, like guitar part, but also like the piano and them together. Because like guitar is more of like a gritty, but like piano is more of a soul thing. I'm using the word soul a lot, but I really think that like, you know, you put your soul and your passion into like everything that you do at the end of the day. At least you should try to. And that's kind of like another part of the message. Well, I already kind of said that.
I get what you're saying.
So
Yeah.
I really like the instrumental part of that. It's got a good guitar solo. Everyone check it out.
Mhm.
But also like it's kind of just like the final message like is if you don't work to try and accomplish your goals from like early on in your life, also like why I started with this as why I say it's for younger people, it's you'll be too late and you won't have as much time to try because like stuff like being an astronaut, you gotta go to school for that and that's something that you do early on in your life and you kind of have to be in the right mindset to know what you want to do and to work early on if you want to accomplish things that are lofty but also like it just yeah that's pretty much all
Mhm.
I have to say for that one. I really like that song. I think that's like something it's for younger people but also like as an adult we all need these reminders still that we can do anything we put our minds to. Yeah. So,
So one of my songs that ended up on the cutting room floor for two reasons. One, it got cut for time, but also because I didn't have, or I already had a Kelly Clarkson song on here, but there's one, it's called Because of You, and just about how like the effect that other people can have on your life, and you remember so much more, unfortunately, of the negative influences that
mhm.
you have on your life versus some of the more positive ones, or those are the ones that like unfortunately affect you way more than your positive influences. And it's just in a way, it's like, hey, just if somebody believes that they can do something, why are you being an asshole about it? Like, just
Yeah.
like it's okay to be supportive and just, do what you can to make sure that somebody else's like if they believe that they could do something, support them in doing that instead of, trying to tear them down. So I love that message. One of the other reasons why I started this podcast is I realized that I don't listen to a whole lot of like music that I haven't listened to before. So I think one of the things that I'm looking forward to from not just this list, but like any of the lists that I've gotten so far is just listening to new music as well. So,
Yeah.
and since you said that this is your favorite song, I'm looking forward to listening to that. So cool. What's your number two?
My number two is a crowd pleaser, everyone's universal favorite. It's Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears. And I put this at the beginning because I think this song, and it like when I say crowd pleaser, like it's everyone knows any age, anyone loves this song. Anyone. I call this song a certified crowd pleaser toe tapper. Everybody's
Mm,
gonna want to boogie a little bit to this song, but also like it's got a very you kind of need an upbeat, song to kind of also like for an instrumental part combined with lyrics to kind of like sell the like, hey, life is good vibe. But
mhm,
also the song I think is a lot about how you can control your own life and you need to remember that you can do that and not let not always let because sometimes outside influence and like from other people of like how you live your life can be a good thing, but that's not always a good thing. But I also think it serves as a reminder that you should live freely.
mhm.
And there's a lot of songs on this playlist that I have as marked as like live freely reminder songs. But also there's an aspect of like personal the topic of like personal relationships in the song too. And I think another big like message that I noticed is that you should like stick by the side of the people that you love,
Mhm.
and because they can support you and you can be happy together. Like you can uplift other people and that'll be good for you, but also good for other people. And I think like, you know, everybody wants to rule the world, the title, it's just it is like a reminder that everyone wants to accomplish great things and they you also can, you know? But I also like the instrumental part, like it's serves also as a reminder that hey, life is good. Like it's in the moment when you listen to it, you're like, oh yeah, my life is great. You know, I'm a happy guy. So that's like pretty much all I have to say about that song because that's like I'd say one of the song on this playlist that like everyone knows and everyone can grasp the meaning of it. But like that's like one of the things why one of the reasons why I chose it is because everybody can relate to that song. So yeah.
It's a great pick. Great opening intro with the synthesizers and everything like that. The first lyric to that, and welcome to your life. Just great way to start that one. So that's probably going to be, unfortunately, one of the only songs that I know on your list, and that's embarrassing to admit, but hey, it
That's
is what it is.
okay. That's
So,
okay.
all right, give me your third one.
My third one. All right. We have Way It Goes by Hippocampus, one of my favorite bands. Got the
Mhm.
logo tattooed on my spine and
Nice,
everything.
nice.
But this is their it is their most popular song, I believe. I actually want to check to see if it is their top stream song. That's their second. But maybe some people will know this, but I put this towards the beginning because I think it's reflective of like the life experiences of like your teens, your late tweens, early 20s. And it's another similar thing to Everybody Wants to Rule the World, as in like you should live your life freely. And I think that's something that this the message like carries early or like into the rest of your adulthood, but also like as a kid, you do need that reminder because when you're a kid, your life is so much more structured. Like
Yep.
everybody has a time set. Like oh, you go to this grade, you go to high school, you go to college. You know, everybody has expectations that you do things in your life in a certain order, but we shouldn't always we shouldn't think we have to do that, you
Mhm.
know? Like I took a break from college for my mental health and I felt the pressure of, you know, I have to graduate in 4 years. I have to graduate in the time at the on the day that I was supposed to, I was meant to. But it took me a little while to realize that, you know, I don't have to follow the constraints of like this
Mhm.
like the American life plan and just
Mhm.
like well universal also like but it's like a very like American expectation that you do these things in a certain time at
Yep.
the same time. And so just like that message, like don't don't restrict yourself, you know, kind of just like you kind of just gotta let go. This song is more hipster coded. It's got some hipstery lyrics talking about records and Doc Martens and stuff.
Mhm.
But that's kind of like more of like the crowd they're reaching for. But like I also think those are some things that everyone should enjoy. Everyone deserves a pair of Doc Martens and a nice record. But so that's just like a little thing about it, but also I think the biggest message is that life just happens and you have to roll with it sometimes. You know, that's just the way it goes. And you can't like what happens is gonna happen.
Mhm.
And you can't always be stuck on the past or the negative experiences that you've had in your life. And but like instrumental wise, I think also like really sells it. Like it's very it's musically very like upbeat and kind of like nostalgic, but sort of like the lyrics are also very nostalgic. So is the music video. I'm a big music video person,
Mhm.
so because I think that also like sells like the message that the artist is really trying to send with the song, in like a visual way. Helps you visualize it better. But it's upbeat to kind of show that life can be fun when you try and make it fun. Like you
Mhm.
can make your life more exciting. Like I was really depressed for a while and I was a homebody, like permanently just like glued to my bed. But then I started to make an effort to like even just by myself go out and do things. Like even tonight, like when I was prepping for this, I was at the bar having a beer,
Mhm.
just by myself, chilling, having a good time, talking to my former coworkers. And
Nice.
like you can make your own life fun. And like I've talked to like so many of my friends. Like I have a friend right now, he's a freshman at my school and he's like having a hard time just like being he's like feels very like restricted to like his dorm and just like campus and everything. I'm like, hey dude, you can like go out and like meet people and like do fun things. Like you feel lonely because you're not really making an effort to
Mhm.
go outside of, just like what is your comfort zone at the moment,
Mhm.
so that's pretty much what I have for my number three. Yeah.
Great pick. Looking forward to listening to that. So my next three, this is part of my cliche reminders that I need from time to time, but also these, again, they're just good to hear. So the first one is Breathe by Michelle Branch. And the reason is it because the lyrics are like, if I just breathe, fill those space between, I'll know everything is all right. And I know for me, I'm on the go all the time. And sometimes I forget to breathe. And you can relate to this to some extent or another because you also we were runners at one point as well. And how you don't really think it's like, oh, breathing is more important than people think. I know, groundbreaking science right here
Hmm.
on this podcast, but just stopping to breathe. I can't tell you how many times my ass has been saved because I just stopped, took a couple deep breaths, and then everything felt not like completely better, but I felt like I could at least proceed forward with something. And especially someone with anxiety like me, that's a huge part of what they tell you is that, hey, you got to come up with like things in your tool belt just in case something comes up and you need to cope because you can't always just take meds or you can't always just like talk to your counselor or therapist or anything like that. You're going to be faced with a situation where you just need to sit down and like you got to calm yourself down a little bit.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I don't know, for me sometimes this is just a good reminder that I need to breathe, and I know that's bullshit that I need a reminder like that from time to time, but I think we all do to some extent or another because
Yeah.
our lives are so fast-paced right now that sometimes if we just stop and breathe a little bit, we might be in a better position. My next one is Try Again by Aaliyah. And again, self-explanatory. Just try again. Like the course is if at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again. Like the most cliche lyrics that one can come up with, but also it's true. And as somebody sometimes who gets frustrated when something does not go my way, and the fact that I do have to try again sometimes pisses me off, isn't that life to some extent or another? How
Yeah.
you get up and dust yourself off and try something again if it doesn't go your way? Because like I think for this, like it kind of reminds me a little bit of the movie Talladega Nights. It's like if you ain't first, you're last. It's like, no, like you could be second or third or fourth or whatever. there's not like a one size fit all approach to everything. Because if there was a one size fits all approach to everything, we would have zero problems in the world. But we do have problems, and there are certain problems that take multiple attempts to try to fix, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not much of a science person or anything like that, but even I understand that like, hey, the scientific method is filled with so many more failures than it is successes, but that is just part of the gig. Sorry. It
Exactly.
is what it is. If you are not okay with failure, then you're never going to make it. Sorry. It's just, plain and simple truth of the matter. And it took me a long time to realize that failure is okay, as opposed to, just doing everything right all the time. And my next group of songs are these songs where I realized that, well, not, all the time, but I realized that I put a lot of undue pressure on myself. And part of it's part of it's a lot of like things with like upbringing, but a lot of it's also myself too. And I gotta
Yeah.
recognize that. My next song is Crossroads by Bone Thugs and Harmony to change things up completely. Look, do the lyrics match up completely with what I'm trying to convey with this song? No, not really. But the just the first part is like, you know, what are you gonna do when there's nowhere else to hide? Because like judgment's coming for you at some point. And it's something where it's like, huh. Because to me, like life, as cliche as this sounds, life is just filled with all these crossroads where you have to, it's not even making up, it's not sometimes when you're faced with a crossroads, you need to make the right choice. Sometimes it's just about making a choice. And
Yeah.
there's, and it kind of connects with, the, hey, if you made a choice that didn't work out in your favor, then you got to try again. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, plus also, I love Bone Thugs and Harmony as well, and they are the only. It's kind of a cheat because one of my main rules was I didn't want to double up any artist, and Bone Thugs and Harmony was the closest thing I got to it because my next set there is Bone Thugs and Harmony adjacent thing. So yeah, those are my next three.
Oh, I really like that. I especially like the making the choice like concept because like life moves fast, like you said, and like you don't always have time to sit and think like, is this a good choice? You kind of just need to make one and just kind of see what happens and roll with it.
Mhm.
So I really like that. And I have also never heard of that. Is that a band? Yeah.
Bone Thugs and Harmony, yeah,
Yeah.
they
I
they have
yeah.
I'm dating myself. It's a song from the 90s, which really bums me out that I say that it's old, but I'm old now, so I get it. It's fine. But yeah, when I send it to you, maybe it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I've heard this once or twice.
Yeah,
That's
maybe.
really it. So, because because the concept of this also, it's about people that you've lost in your life as well, and whether or
Hmm.
not, you know, there's because the this group, like one of the this it was dedicated to Eazy-E when he died of AIDS, because he was in NWA, prominent member of that group, and he just taken way too soon due to AIDS. So yeah, that's something that comes up a bunch, and that is like when you reflect also on the people that you've lost in your life, as well as that, you know did I did that person, do all the stuff that they could have to make the most of their life, but also did I do enough to be part of this person's life as well.
Oh, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. I'm definitely gonna have to listen to that song
Yeah.
100%.
All right, Raven, give me your next three.
My turn. All right, I forgot. Sorry that I had another very familiar to everyone song, Vienna by Billy Joel. Let me find it on my list of notes. This song, I don't have too much to say about it because, people, I feel like the message is fairly clear. a lot of people have taken something from that song in their life. But I think the song is very reflective of the ages, like in your late teens, in your early 20s, when your life does feel like the way the the lyrics the way the lyrics convey, I guess, because it's about again like kind of similar to like being an astronaut, like having dreams and goals, and it talks about like wanting to achieve those goals, but it's also a reminder that you need that life is fast and you do need to sometimes slow down, but also like take a break at the same time. Like,
Hmm.
because sometimes it can be so intense that like over time it's just gonna wear you down even more. And it is okay to stop and take a break. And it's like that is very like this song really was meant a lot to me when I was in school. I mean, I am still in
Hmm.
school, but I'm taking a break right now.
Hmm.
Taking a break right now, because I'm a STEM major and it's very demanding, especially at the school I'm at. And like I did need a reminder a lot, so I listened to the song a lot that it was okay for me to take a break from things, you know. And there's also been so many things in my life that I've wanted to accomplish, and that's a universal experience. Like we all have like goals, like traveling abroad, just like dream
Hmm.
jobs, starting a family even. And those things, you know, sometimes they take time, and you kind of need to give it time and not feel the need to rush yourself into
Hmm.
those things. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that one. My next song is also, well, it's a little more on the popular side. It's Nelly by Dr. Dog. I put there isn't too many love songs on this playlist, or they like lightly touch on it, but a lot of songs are about love
Hmm.
because love is a core part of life,
Hmm.
and like it impacts who you are as a person and your experiences, and that's kind of like what this song is about. But also it's about being like infatuated, like it is an intense like infatuation with someone who like feels like electric and is like maybe eccentric, is just like worldly person, but you can't have them, or you feel like you can't have them. And it's kind of you kind of just observe their life on almost like a worshiping level,
Hmm.
but there's a distance to it, and that's something that we all experience at some point in time. That's like having a very intensive crush, you know, and that's a universal experience. And I think that's also something that like this is more of an ageless song. Like this can happen to you at any time in your life. You know, there is no time restriction on love, and
Hmm.
you're gonna love different people maybe at different parts of your life. And relationships are all different and they all have their different lifespans. It's not going to be the same for everyone. So yeah, I really wanted to put that one in there. My next song is Australia by the Shins, one of my favorite bands of all time. I was raised on them, like I was fresh out the womb listening
Hmm.
to the Shins. So like this song invokes a lot of like childhood nostalgia for me, but also like this song, I have it earlier on the playlist because it does have a childish energy to it, but childish energy can be maintained at any age, which is
Yep.
kind of like the big like message that it has. And sometimes you kind of need to maintain your childish energy. And it's about kind of like feeling like you can do anything, but you feel like life's restrictions very deeply, whether that be like money, you know, family, just like any kind of situation. There are so many restrictions that life can put on you, and they're different for everyone. But I feel like that's also like a core part of like the human experience. And
Hmm.
like and feeling like you can do anything applies to like any single thing that you could ever do. with your
Hmm.
life. You know, it doesn't have to just be like a career. Because that's like something that most people think of when it's like you can do anything is like, what's your job? But also,
Yep.
your job is not everything, and it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be everything. But it's also about like finding a soulmate, and like that can help you excel as a person. Like
Hmm.
relying on the people you love, just like confiding in the people you love, spending time with them, you know, and it can build you up. It can make you happier because we do have to rely on people. We do
Hmm.
have to rely on people, you know, as much as like it's stressed that like, hey, you can't just always be relying on others. You have to do things for yourself, you know. You still need people in your life. And it's another living life freely reminder song, but also living life freely with the person that you love can help you grow, like I
Hmm.
said. So I really wanted to put that one in there. That's always been I pulled this song off of my playlist, songs that would save me from Vecna. So
Yeah.
I really this one has always been, and I made that when I was 18 and I was having
Mhm.
a hard time with school. So I think but I still listen to that song. Like
Mhm.
I've been listening to that song. Let me see when that album came out really quick, because I've it's been out for a while. It's from 2007, and I was
Mhm.
born in 2002. So I've been listening to this song and like relating to it, and like this song has like changed in meanings for me
Mhm.
over time also, you know. So
Mhm.
that's it for my set.
My, I feel like songs that I would play in order to save me from Vecna should be on my playlist topics. So thank you for that. But also, yeah, a lot of good stuff there. Because like I know for me, I don't think I have maybe some of these in a roundabout way could be considered like a love song, but I think for the most part, I steered clear from that. I don't really have a good explanation for that,
Hmm.
but because it is very part of my experience and it is part of who I am, because love is very important to me, but I don't know. That might be a volume two type of thing, I guess.
Definitely.
Now I've got a lot to think. Anyways, not gonna go down that route. These next three, this is my life sucks, and you just gotta, power through it. And my first one in this group is Storm. It's called Storm. It's by Lifehouse, and it is the way that it describes when you're going through a tough time. It equates it to drowning in a sense. And we've all been there where
Mhm.
you feel when you're in a storm in a sense that you feel like you're drowning and can you don't know how you're going to get out of it. And we've all been there. We've all know what that's experience is like. And I keep referring to the movie Inside Out too, because this is a movie that we like my daughter's been watching a lot recently. And I've been watching a lot too because I loved it. But the part at the end, and I'm spoiled, or have you seen it yet?
No, I have
Nope.
not. I've
Okay,
seen the
never
first
mind.
one.
Never mind. Never
That's
mind.
the
I
one with
will.
anxiety, right?
It
That's a new
is. It
one.
is.
Okay, yeah.
Let's just put it this way. As somebody who has anxiety, the way that they portray somebody with anxiety, it's like, whoa, this this I've never been more seen in my entire life. So,
Mm.
and like even for me, like no, I cannot relate to the social pressure and just what it's like to be a teenage girl. I will never know what that's like. But I can take lessons away from that for my kids when that does come up, but also recognize the anxieties that I have and what I can do to try to, you know, figure out what to do with that. And that like I think when I came up with this list, I was thinking a lot about my anxiety because, well, isn't that like a textbook definition of anxiety when you're just like overthinking shit? But yeah. So anyways, this, the lyrics to this are just like the lyrics to this just describes like how like you kind of just wonder like how long you've like really been in some of these storms that you're in and and kind of just lamenting and like how are you going to get out? And part of the ways that you're going to get out is part of it is you making the effort to try to get yourself out, but also relying on the people that you care about that will are willing to throw you a life preserver and get you out of those tough situations. My next one in this group, this is when you bond with a friend over a song and you're like, "Whoa, I did not realize anybody else knew that this song was even out there or anything like that." So, one of my friends in high school, she was talking to me about a tough time that she was having. And in her case, she was having a tough time about a guy that she was interested in, which bummed me out because I was interested in her, but whatever, it
Mm.
is what it is. But she was talking about how she was, you know, she has a go-to song that she listened to when she gets like really sad about the situation. And she told me what it is. She was like, there's a couple lyrics in there where that she talked about that she liked, and then I recited the next part of the lyrics, and she's like, "How on earth do you know this song?" And I told her that I know this song because I also am a fan of this song. But also I have a mom and sister who listen to this particular artist a lot. So as a boy with a sister and a mom, you do not get a whole lot of say or choice in the music. Like you just don't. So you just have to deal with it. So this song is called Breakdown. It is by Mariah Carey.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and this is the era of Mariah Carey where she was doing a little bit more experimentation and collaborating with individuals that one wouldn't think that would make, you know, that she normally would at the time. And the two people she collaborated with were two members of Bone Thugs and Harmony. So
Oh,
uh
yes.
Crazy Bone and Wishbone are the two individuals who collaborated with her on that. But the refrain is like, I guess I'm trying to be nonchalant about it. It's like I'm going too extreme to prove that I'm like not about it. But it's like, but in reality, like we all do that. We all put up a
Mhm.
persona that says like I'm okay, but in reality, like you're secretly breaking down. And also, who doesn't like a good cry every now and again?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. That's something that like my even my 7-year old, I've had to come to grips with that, is that sometimes she needs to cry. And there's nothing wrong with that. It breaks my heart every time, but you sometimes feel better after you do
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
my next one is a song that I listen to that symbolizes a lot of what I do to myself, which is I put a lot of pressure on myself. It's called Falls on Me by Fuel. And it is one of those, the lyrics are like, and all of your weight and all of your dreams falls on me. And as somebody who, like my dad wasn't really around, and my mom, sometimes, with parents, sometimes you do feel a little bit of that pressure that you're not living up to the person that they think that you should be. And in
Oh, yeah.
reality, they sometimes they don't realize it's like, hey, it's not about the person you think I should be. Maybe it's the person that I think that I should be. Do you ever think about that, parent?
Oh, yes.
But also, it is one of those things, it is a reminder song for me that I'm not going to do that to my kids. And but it's hard as well because
Yeah.
you want what's best for them, but at the same time, you have to trust that they're going to make the sound choice that's right for them. And
Hmm.
that's something that I'm not ready to come to grips with something like that, especially since my oldest is only 7 and but she's growing up quick. Like all those
Yeah.
people are like, oh, she'll be driving before you know it. And all those people who are like, oh, she'll go to college before you know it. I'm like, well, what if she doesn't want to go to college? There's nothing wrong with that. If she doesn't want to go to
Yes.
college. So going to CLC is not the death trap that everyone thinks that it is.
Oh yeah.
And going, if she wants to go to trade school, go into the military, whatever. I will support her, support both of their decisions, no matter what they want to do. And it's sometimes tough because I don't want like this is the thing that like every parent goes through. It's like they look at like their own upbringing and then they have to come to terms with like I can't just rely on how my upbringing was. I gotta kind of forge my own path, or else my kids are going to have the same fucked up everything that I have, and that's not something that I want, even though I know to some extent or another that some of that stuff, not everything, some of that stuff is inevitable, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, but I know I put a lot of pressure on myself. Some of it's on upbringing, but I know some of it's on myself as well. And
Yeah.
sometimes I don't need to have everything fall on me, and I need to learn to trust people a little bit more. So this is a good way just to remind myself. It's like, yeah, can't have everything just fall on me. Sorry.
Yeah. I really like that one. And your reason for selecting, as someone whose parents have put a lot of pressure on them
Hmm.
to go into a certain field. Like, my parents are artists and they pressured me to not go into art, even though they made me have a love for art in the first place.
Hmm.
And like there are so many like the things that I wanted to do, I was encouraged to not do. And like I was pressured, like by like parents, but also like just like general like societal pressure
Hmm.
to like, like I kind of mentioned earlier, like there's there's these time limits that we have set as a society for like the things that you should do, and you're expected to go into like to like be a doctor or
Hmm.
an engineer or something, accomplish things that maybe like aren't exactly like what you want to do at the end of the
Hmm.
day. And like that was something that like I grew up with. Like I was raised to not want to do the things that I love. So I really like that. I really
Hmm.
like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Give me your next three.
My turn again. All
Hmm.
right. First, we have Best Imitation of Myself by the Ben Folds 5. And this is
Mm.
like a more of a dad rock thing. This is a song that like my dad really likes. He really likes this.
Well, I'm well aware of Ben Folds. Yeah.
I love Ben Folds. Yeah. So I'm sure you already know this. You know
I
this
do.
song. This one's like an ageless, I think,
Hmm.
but also like it's I think also like in your 20s, it's kind of just about masking yourself for the sake of like people pleasing,
Hmm.
especially in like relationships, because sometimes we have the tendency to like hide ourselves, like our true selves from our partners with the idea that they'll like us more if we act a certain way. And we overthink our outward portrayal to people, even though they don't really care that much. And like the song,
Yeah.
like the piano, like the general like tone, it's kind of like I don't give a fuck and
Hmm.
I'm just gonna roll with it. And like the title itself, Best Imitation of Myself, that's like the core idea of it, like we pretend so that people will
Hmm.
like us. And like that's kind of this song is kind of like urging you to like, hey, maybe don't do that. Maybe let's not. So I really like that one. I grew up on the Ben Folds, like
Hmm.
5 Ben Folds, So like growing up on this song was something I think that was like really important because that's kind
Hmm.
of like a reminder that we need all throughout our lives is like, hey, just be yourself. My favorite Bill Hader quote ever is "Be yourself, Kimosabi. It'll all work out." And like
Hmm.
that's I think is kind of just like the message of the song
Hmm.
also, you know. My
Well, and
next
plus
movie.
also at the end of the day, look, anything Ben Folds says is just gold to some extent
Yes.
or another.
Yep.
His
Yep.
his lyrical prowess and his music knowledge is great. He was one of the best like reality TV competition music series judges that was ever out there. He
What
was
was
a
he
judge
on?
he was a judge on the Sing Off, the a cappella one.
No way.
Yeah,
No way.
he was a judge for 3 seasons, and he was the best part
Of
about it.
course.
Because
I
like
mean, he's just a real funny
because
guy.
because like the first well, it was the first 4 seasons, but the first 2 seasons, it was him, one of the guys from Boys to Men, and Nicole Scherzinger. And Nicole Scherzinger, like you don't put Nicole Scherzinger on there for her musical prowess per se, even though she's a very talented singer, but they needed to balance out the judging panel a little bit. The following year,
Yeah.
they put Sarah Bareilles on there, who is an a cappella nerd through and through. And I was like, these three, if they judge me in anything that I do, I would love it so much.
Yeah. I will
Um,
take any criticism from them.
oh, Ben Folds' criticism was always so tech from a technical perspective, Ben Folds is fantastic. Like
Yes.
he is so smart when it comes to composition and when it comes to, like all the different parts of a song. So that was great, but also he did it in a way that was like palatable for people. Um,
Yeah.
like giving people praise where they need it, even but like telling them the truth about what they need to work on in a way that wasn't like an asshole about it.
Mm.
So, but yeah, Ben Folds, great pick. I would support anything and everything like that anybody puts on a list that was by Ben Folds or Ben Folds
Oh
five.
yeah. Song for the Dumped is one of my favorite. Is one of my favorites. I believe that's the one that's like, give me my money back, you bitch. I was like screaming that at like 5 years old.
Nice. Very nice.
And
That's
your
awesome.
parents are just gonna let it happen because that's funny.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that's a good song
Mhm.
recommending going off the tangent. But no, I love Ben Folds. My next one is another love song. It's called Was It Something I Said, and it's by Mikey, spelled M-Y Key, one word for anyone who wants to look it up. But it's I put this one earlier on the playlist because it's more of like a post breakup in your 20s type song. Because it has a bit more of like a younger feel to it. Granted, like the artists themselves are that age. But the message that I wrote that I jot down here is that it's you fucked me over, fuck you, but I don't care anymore. But still fuck you. So and it's kind of like it's about communicating post breakup because
Mhm.
we all like have the times when we like text our ex or something. We've all done that at some point, just because
Mhm.
we've been thinking about things and you just want to get something out
Yeah.
and you just need to talk to that person. But communicating during that time is difficult, and trying to heal from breakups is difficult. And that's something like a song like this, we all need that reminder, like, hey, this is not like it's not just you, you know, this is a universal experience. And it's also about really like remembering that remembering the good times that you've
Mhm.
had in your relationship is hard. Just like, you'll get like just like fleeting thoughts of like, oh, I remember when I did this with this partner and that made me feel good and that was like a a good core memory that I have, but now I don't have that person anymore.
Mhm.
And that's also just a universal experience, and that happens at like any age, you
Mhm.
know? So yeah, I really like that song. Found that when I was in my late teens, and that
Mhm.
was, a good breakup song for me, because of the idea, like I said, like, hey, you fucked me over, but fuck you, and I don't care anymore at the same
Mhm.
time. So I really like that one. My next pick, well, it's also a little more of a more well-known one, is Brain Stew by Green Day. And my note for this one, first note, is giving up, but living it up. It's a very like gritty song. Like it's just
Yes, it
kind of
is.
I call I'd say this song is like one of the songs that I deem as like scratching your brain. Just kind
Mhm.
of scratch that little like, I just need some grit. I just
Mhm.
need something to be like, yeah, like things suck, but whatever. And like it's kind of about like life is hard, but you're numb to the pain at a certain
Mhm.
point, and you're just like, it is what it is, whatever, and it kind of like throwing your hands up, giving up sort of way. And like the I really like the I'm having trouble trying to sleep lyric for it, because that's something that like we all have restless nights at some point because there's
Mhm.
something on our mind, and sleep is hard when you got shit on your mind, but you
Yep.
don't want it to be at the same time. You don't really have an option sometimes, and it's hard to like get that stuff out of your head. Like the negative is always gonna stay with you in some way, shape, or form, and it can be hard to move past. Plus I think Green Day is just like one of those bands in general that like people are often like it's like a punk band. Punk is like it's like rock on.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think that's stuff that's like gritty music like that scratches our brains, and
Mhm.
that's something that everybody needs every once in a while. So I wanted to put that one on there. And
There
I
were
do.
I- my next three kind of we are getting into the like we're starting to like this is where like the turn kind of is in my like sadder songs, I guess. So my next one is My Own Worst Enemy by Lit because I am my own worst enemy. It just
Hmm.
I know that for myself, but it is still something that as I recognize that and just wrestle with that, just it continues to be a struggle. And, like it sucks to admit that like even into my late 30s that I still struggle with that. But hey, it is what it is. And, I'm just learning to cope with that and figure out, what to do with all of that. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. Plus, I love this is one where this was the era of MTV where like they had a lot of music videos, and this was a big music video one that came on all the time. So I loved it for that as well. The next one is called Rainbows in the Dark by Tilly and the Wall. Do you know who Tilly and the Wall is?
I do not.
That sounds like I'm not judging a little bit, but it sounds like something that would be right up your alley because instead of a percussionist, like typically it's a drummer, right? Their drummer is a tap dancer instead.
What?
So, yes, they do have some drummy stuff, but for the most part, their percussion is just a random, or not a random person. She is wailing on the little surface thing that she's tap dancing with. So, and when you have one of those moments when you're at a live show and there's a song that you've never heard at a live show and it just hits you in a way that's like, ooh, this I
Yeah.
was not expecting this, particularly at a show or something like this. I was seeing a show for Tilly and the Wall with my sister. And I'm not gonna lie, I was doing this as a solid. I was like, I didn't have anything else to do, and my sister needed me, and I was like, cool, let's go. But also, I was like, tap dancer? Really? This sounds stupid. And I was stupid because she rocked the whole time when she was
I
tap
want to
dancing.
see this. I
Um,
want to see this.
but so just the concept of the title, a rainbow in the dark, just how, like just the visual of that is, hey, here's something bright when things get really dark. And
Yeah.
that always is really cool, but also something that's also like oddly beautiful as well. My I look back at my Greek life experience in college, and there's a lot that I hated about it, but there are a couple things that I I did take away from it, and it a lot of it does have to do with the things that are important about Greek life, like the ritual and, the concept of brotherhood. But I think of Rainbows in the Dark. I also think of like two things that came about like when we're getting initiated. And two of the things that are said is like there is order in the chaos and there's music from the noise. Like, so I look at situations like this, it's like there's always something to take away when there's like something that's kind of like dark that's
Yeah.
going on. And like so so I'm watching them perform this song and just listening to lyrics. I'm like, these lyrics, they're solid. But there's a point where they're, like they're building up and they're playing and things are getting really fast and then they just stop. They just stop. They say like, you just can't hold back the river. It was like, and like I just started crying and I was like, this is bullshit. Like I should not be crying at this thing right now because I was just going through like a tough time. So, but I like, and I'm not gonna say that like I heard this song and like everything was like all sunshine and rainbows and all that shit. No, that wasn't the case. But this was like a good reminder that you need, look through some of the things that, just look through some of the rough situations that you're going through and see the positive that could come out of some of those things. I do think that someone like you would like Tilly in the Wall a lot.
Yes.
So
I am gonna have to agree with that. I feel like that sounds like something I would like. I
mm,
also like weird music. Like it
yeah,
sounds kind of weird, so
it
I
is.
wanna.
It sounds. It just trust me on this. Like they've got a lot of good stuff as well. So my next one is this is one that this is probably among one of my like more popular songs, but it's like a remix version of it. It's Hard to Say I'm Sorry. It's not the Chicago version. It's I'm a huge R&B person. I love
Me
R&B
too.
music
Me
so
too.
much. And there's a group called As Yet that does a version of this where they have Peter Cetera sing parts of it. But I know that it is hard to say sorry because that's kind of like admitting that you're wrong. And I don't like to admit that I'm wrong, but it's something that I know that I've had to get better at. Plus, also, we're at the point. You're right, sunglasses.
Yeah, no, sorry. The bright
It's,
computer.
hey, if do what you got to do. It's all good. So, but we are at the point in our parenting journey where we have had to kind of teach our kids it's like, hey, it's not enough just to say that you're sorry about something. Like you
Hmm.
make a mistake, sorry, and that's like the glorified way of just putting a band-aid on something. So
Yeah.
we're like struggling to tell them it's like, hey, if you really want to say that you're sorry about something, say why you're sorry and then do do better, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
So because it's very easy because we all do it. It's just like, oh, sorry. It's like I bumped into you and you're saying sorry, like type of thing. And sometimes we don't even know what we're apologizing for. And it's I'm sorry is one of those phrases, just like a number of other phrases that just kind of has just lost its meaning because nobody nobody understands like how to properly apologize for something. So I don't know. So for me, I know that I've had to learn what it means, excuse me, to say that I'm sorry, but now as a parent, you figure out like, oh, there's a lot of shit that like I actually have to like tell my kids or teach my kids how to do some of these things. Like a legit way to say that they're sorry instead of just casually saying that and just forgetting about anything that happened. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
So,
like that.
those are my next three. What do you got next?
All right, my next three. So we're in like time wise. I'm saying we're getting into like the 20s and like the
Okay.
30s here. My first one is called For Morant, in parentheses, Better Luck Next Time. It's a song by Doja Cat from her like SoundCloud days, like when she started. But this version is that's on Spotify is remixed by was it Com Truise?
Mm.
So like Tom Cruise. But so it's very synthy. It's very synthy, but the lyrics are like very depressing.
Mm.
It's about like drugs mostly and like using addiction to cope with your problems.
Mm.
Which is something that honestly I have experienced. And I used this song when like my addiction was like at its worst in my life
Mhm.
and when I was having a shitty time in my life. And this song was like on repeat for me. But also like it's about her experiences. It's a very like personal song. She hates the song. Like she doesn't want people to listen to it. It's very much about like the plagues of fame also and
Mhm.
like the things that you'll do for fame
Mhm.
and but also like the drugs aspect. Like there's so many like artists, like we all know there's so many artists that have struggled with like hardcore addiction and like that's something that so many artists have used as like a way to cope with like all of the things that they're experiencing in their lives because like artists have
Mhm.
very fast, busy lives.
Mhm.
And I think things like there are so many songs out there about addiction. Like my favorite group, Suicide Boys, they are very heavy on this
Mhm.
topic of addiction because that's something that they really struggled with. And I think it's important for not only, like songs about addiction help people with addiction, but also I think people who don't struggle with it should
Mhm.
listen to songs about addiction so that you can understand like the way other people what other people are going through, like the way they feel, you know, just like why. Because a lot
Mhm.
of people don't understand the why
Nope.
behind addiction. And that's something that's really important. Like, you'll just look at someone for their drug use, but you won't see, like, the mental illness or anything that's behind it. Because let's be honest, majority of addicts struggle with mental illness. Like, it is a way to cope for a lot
Mm.
of people. And like whether, some people I'd say I have this sounds bad, but I'd say I have a healthy level of addiction now that I can like manage, but that's something that's hard to do.
Mhm.
And but there are a lot of artists out there that have grown, like Suicide Boys, they're sober now. Yesterday was the one of the members, Ruby's 4 year sober anniversary, and they're still out
Mm.
there singing about addiction. And I
Mhm.
think that's something that's like really important for people. But also the parentheses part of the title, better luck next time, that's the closing, is better luck next time. Like, whatever. Maybe things will get better. Maybe.
Mhm.
And it's just kind of like moving on through that and moving on
Mhm.
from addiction and all of the
Yeah.
things that you have done in your life to cope, you know? My next one is, well, I realize now that I have a lot of more better known songs by groups. Is "Don't Look Back in Anger" by Oasis, and I'd
Mm.
say this one is more of like your 20s and your 30s.
Yeah.
I found this song through my favorite TV show of all times, early like 2000s, mid to late, a show called Chuck. And it's the episode is him going back to school and just like, kind of like reliving his like college days, but his college
At
days were hard.
at Stanford University
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
bullshit reasons why he got kicked out of Stanford. I am a
yeah.
Chuck Stan through and through.
Yes,
So,
I love that. Nobody else has seen that show. I
oh no,
love that you know that show.
I love love
I love
love
Chuck.
Chuck.
I love it.
And I watched it at a very particular point in my life because I moved out to
Hmm.
California to, you know, be with some friends because they called me drunk one night and they're like, "You should move out to California." I'd be like, "I should move out to California." And like the post college does a okay job of like keeping you preoccupied with what you're doing now. I don't think college does a great job of preparing you for life after college. Like
No, exactly.
it's
Hmm.
just about, hey, get a job, and then everything's gonna be fine. I'm like, no, no,
No,
no, it's
no.
it's it's actually it's actually harder than you think, college. But I moved out to California. I I struggled to find a job, and I ended up working at a Best Buy in Burbank, of all
So
places.
you lived like Chuck.
Minus all this the spy stuff, and you know, I
The
didn't I did
supercomputer.
all of that stuff, but I was like, God, I work at a Best Buy in Burbank.
Oh, so
Unbelievable.
jealous.
But yeah, I all of this to say I love Chuck. So
Yes. Very good
so good.
show for the
Yes.
listeners. Please watch.
Yes,
I grew,
please.
grew up on Chuck. I was watching it on my shitbox, like massive TV, the one that still had the back on it, when it was coming out when I was like 5 years old. I was watching this show, which is probably not appropriate.
Like,
I
oh.
loved it.
Mhm,
I grew up on Chuck, and
mhm.
I've seen it many times.
Yeah,
But so you know the episode. You know, like they
I
use the
do.
song like a few times throughout the episode because it is such like a great message for just like, the experiences that he was going through, and it's also like universal. There's the aspect of heartbreak, he's trying to move on from his college ex, but heartbreak is a part of growth and it should be acknowledged.
Hmm.
And you kind of that's how you move on from it at the end of
Hmm.
the day. And it's like it's about like that, it relates to like that post college life moving into like adulthood, which is why I've started listening to it like a lot more lately because that's where I'm at in my life. I'm not done, but I'm getting there.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like that message, like you can move on from your past even if and when it's been hard.
Yeah. Hmm.
And like sometimes you need that reminder in the moment too. Like I will listen to this song when I need that reminder that like, yo, it's
Hmm.
fine. And the title, like, don't look back in anger. It's like, don't dwell on the past and let it affect you in a negative way, make you an angry person because there's no point in it. Like
Hmm.
you're not helping yourself in any way by dwelling on things and sitting in like a negative attitude about.
Well, and and that's the thing. There are so many people out there who do that because it's so much
Yeah,
easier just to dwell in negativity and just not move on as opposed to, you know, letting things go. And yeah, it's
yeah.
I remember that episode, and now I remember that song. It's a good call.
That's I need to I've seen Chuck a million times through, but I need to watch it. I need to watch it again. You can never
Hmm.
watch it too many times.
It's
I
great.
really like the early 2000s. Like they were very heavy on the hipster 2000s vibe, and that was like everything.
Hmm.
Like that soundtrack is a great soundtrack. Recommend.
That
They
is a
have
great Chuck has a great soundtrack. I would agree with that.
incredible, incredible. You made me talk about my favorite show. I went off topic. But my next one is Oblivion by Grimes. And I actually pulled a quote of hers off of Genius, because this song is like very personal to her, but it's also like a universal experience for like women. It's about her experience with sexual assault.
Mhm.
And it talks a lot about darkness. And darkness is something that can be like scary for women because they fear that anything can happen because
Mhm.
it does. And
Mhm.
that's something we need to work on. Um
Yeah, just a little,
yeah.
it's
Yeah, it's horrible.
mhm.
I myself I have a nice, I'm gonna say it this way, a nice fat pair of balls. I like being outside in the dark. I will take a walk in the dark, but like, and I know that, but that's something that I've had to like convince my friends, like, hey, you can do that too. And, like, it is okay sometimes. Like, it it's getting better, but it's
Mhm.
still not great. Like, it depends. But sexual assault, like as someone who's like experienced that, not in the same context as her, like it creates lifetime fears and
Mhm.
distrust of male figures in your life.
Yep.
And that's something that she was like saying that is really hard for her, after the experience is like, and that's it happens and it becomes so like deeply ingrained in you to where you're not always thinking about it, but it affects your life in like the littlest of ways in like your relationships. And that's something that is like really important. I think that like everybody should listen to this song and kind of like to understand like that experience, you know. Women can help them feel more like, yo, I'm not alone, but also like men help them understand like, hey, maybe let's not. But
Yeah.
the quote that I pulled from her, she said, I can't censor myself. It's really important for me to say how I feel. I needed to put out this song. I needed to make this song. I took one of the most shattering experiences of my life and I turned it into something I can build a career on and that allows me to travel through the world. I play it live every night. The whole process has been positive, engaging with that subject matter and making it into something good. So like the song itself, she makes like electronic, like very synthy music, and like it's a very upbeat song with a very like dark meaning behind it, but
Mhm.
it kind of like shows that message like, hey, you know, like I can move on from this, and like her, like it is like her most popular song,
Mhm.
and you know, it's it's kind of like another of that idea of like release, kind of like releasing yourself from your fears and like the
Mhm.
shitty things that you've experienced in your life, being able to move on. Because sometimes, even if it's hard, you kind of just have to do that at the end of the day if you want to live happily. You know,
Mhm.
you can't always dwell on it, but and it helps you grow. You need to realize that you can grow from those experiences. And like one of the other reasons why I really like this song and why I'm really happy that she put it out is kind of, oh my gosh, I kind of lost my train of thought there. But like kind of like, oh yeah, you need to I as someone who's experienced like a lot of shitty things in my life, and especially like sexual assault, having those experiences and like sharing and like talking about them with other people can help other people move
Mhm.
on from those experiences. Like you kind of need to know, like you kind of need some reminders sometimes that hey, I'm not alone in this. And so I really appreciate her for having the guts to
Mhm.
put that song out. So yeah, that's it for my little set of three.
The look, any song that spreads more awareness about sexual assault, yeah, like just blast those songs to the high heavens because those songs are usually a little rough to listen to, but also, you're right. You never know who that could possibly help at some point,
Hmm.
whether that is somebody who needs to find the courage to like step forward and say something, even though there is a giant stigma that's attached to it. And I think there's a lot of like institutions out there that just don't know what to do with sexual assault, and it shows a lot of times by,
Yeah.
like looking at college, looking at police, looking at, a lot of different things. They just grossly need to be improved by that. But also as, as the primary instigator of sexual assault, I'm not saying that all like it's always men or anything like that, but the vast majority of them are men. And definitely needs to be a more conceited effort by dudes to, get involved in sexual assault awareness and such. And you know,
Yeah.
I I volunteered at the Z Center for a little while, and like I kind of fell off of it, but it's also tough to volunteer as a guy at a sexual assault center because, like you said, there's a lot of deep mistrust, and I get that. Uh, and no matter how much you say, you're trying to be part of the solution, like can't force somebody to talk to you if they don't feel comfortable, because if that trust isn't there, then what are you even doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, good call out with that. Sorry that you've had experiences with
Yeah.
that, because it unfortunately happens to a lot of women, and that sucks. And that
Yeah.
is as somebody who has daughters, that and the internet are my two worst fears, and that
Yeah.
sucks a lot. So, all right, my next three, because I've got three more sets, and then I am all set. So, this is kind of where we're starting to make a turn. And these all three kind of relate to that. So my first song is Best I'll Ever Be by Sister Hazel. And it's something like the lyrics just say it all. But the only thing that's missing from that is the like the first part of the lyric is that, was that the best I'll ever be? And the answer is no. No, this isn't like, I'm sorry, I feel bad for all those people who say that high school was the best years of their lives. Like, dude, really? Like, you've had so much more life to live, and you like, I feel bad for those people, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, people peak in high school. It is what it is. So, and as somebody who just continues to strive to like give their best in whatever they do, it's just a good reminder. It's like, did I give my best to today, or did I give my best? And do I give my best every day? No, because I'm human, and there's days where, you know, your attitude is a choice. And boy, let me tell you, some days I choose my attitude and it is going to be shitty. But
Yeah.
there's but there are plenty of days out there where I put my best foot forward and I look to continually strive to, did I do my absolute best today? And if I can answer yes, then I'm good with that. And if I could
Mhm.
look my kids in the eyes and say, like, I did my best today, I did, then I'm good with that. My next one is it's a Josh Groban song. It's called You're Still You. And that this came about because of an episode of the show Ally McBeal. Did you ever watch that show?
I have not.
It's about a quirky lawyer. Callista Flockhart's in it, and a lot of interesting people. But there's a part, some the she just got out of a relationship, and that was like, it was a relationship that was like, yeah, this is your guy. Like, and he just got up and left. Even though reality, the reason why he got up and left is because the actor was Robert Downey Jr. and he got arrested for drugs. So he got written off the show because of that. So they had to re-swizzle, I guess, the show. And they have this part where she is like chaperoning someone at a prom, and this really like shy guy, which is Josh Groban, he's he's being asked to like sing a song, like, as a senior at this prom. So, and he's a really shy guy. Everyone like doesn't see him, but when he starts singing, everyone's like, holy shit, this guy can sing. And he sings this song called You're Still You, where it's like, I know you've had a shit experience, but don't forget you're still you after all of this, and you're going to get through this, and you're still going to be the person that you are, even if you're slightly changed a little bit.
Yeah.
So like this one is just like a reminder, and this one, like, a lot of the stuff that I equate to a lot of these, particularly my last three songs, they all come from like media of some type, whether it's a movie or a TV show. So, and this one came specifically from a TV show as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that was important to me. And then the last one is Shake It Off, or Shake It Out by Florence and the Machines.
Oh,
I feel
love.
like I feel like I don't need to explain that. It's pretty
Yeah.
self-explanatory because,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I
But
love I love Florence and the Machine songs. I think that they do a lot of really good like human experience living
mhm,
life songs that are like all very relatable. So
mhm.
everybody go listen to Florence and the Machine,
Ag-
100%.
Agree, agree. All right, give me your next three.
All right, next I have Yes, I'm Changing by Tame Impala. This has to be one of my favorite songs. But I have this sort of like in the middle. It's about like growing up, but growing up is an ageless experience, you know?
Mhm,
It happens for everyone at like different times at different paces. And there's a lot of like really good messages in this song. There's a lot of stuff about like getting over bad blood or hatred and moving past negative experiences and trauma, which is something that we all have to do at some point in our lives. And no matter, it's different for everyone. It's a song that kind of like encourages people to do that. Like the artist is obviously like he's speaking from his own experience and he's kind of just encouraging others to like, yo, you can do this too. I did this and you can do it too. And it's about how like life moves and changes, and that's okay. And
Mhm.
sometimes, we have a hard time accepting change, and like life is there's a lot of ups and downs, and you kind of just have to roll with it, you
Mhm.
know? And it's a common misconception that people can't change for the better or move on from bad experiences or mental illness. That's something that my own family, I'm gonna get a little personal, my own family is having a hard time believing that I have moved on from like my depression and my
Mhm.
anxiety, and I have gotten over it. And I think and like a lot of other people have, like, I tell people about my life and they're like, yo, like you're probably not okay. And I'm like, I trust me, like I'm fine. Like I've changed for the better. I've grown, and like I'm okay with everything that's happened to me in my life because I think it's changed me, made me a better person at the end of the day. And it's another song that I on this list that I see is like a live life to the fullest, because there's a whole world out there, and
Mhm.
you need to kind of like go out into the world, because that's something that a lot of people have a hard time doing, out of
Mhm.
fear for like judgment or anything really. But I also really think like the instrumental part and vocal tone are very important to this song. It's very common for like a lot of Tame Impala songs. It's just another song that I feel is like a very much a release song. It's like got a very soothing, like light, it's like sort of synth. He's a very synthy artist. So I really think the instrumental part adds to like the message of it too. Really
Mhm.
sells the hey, it's okay. And life moves on at the end of the day, and you
Mhm.
kind of just have to accept that and roll with it. So that was my first of the set. Next, I have "You Are a Tourist" by Death Cab for Cutie, which, funny enough, also a song in the Chuck soundtrack.
Yeah, it sure
Um,
is.
but I think this one is more reflective also of like 20s and 30s, but also
Mhm.
another again like an ageless song. I just think that that's the time when like that's kind of like your experience. It's got like that upbeat, like very nostalgic feeling to
Mhm.
it. And I my note for this one is like it encourages you to feel your feelings, fool. It's an album title by The
Mhm.
Regrets. 10 out of 10
Mhm.
would recommend that album. Very good. Um, and it's just kind of like telling you like, hey, it is okay to feel things and your
Mhm.
emotions, because a lot of times we need that reminder that like
Absolutely.
it is
Yeah.
okay to not be okay. And life gets hard sometimes, but it's important to remember that every day is a new day.
Mhm.
And like, you can move on from things. And this is like another song that I feel is like it's got like a light close to signify a release. It's a very like release song. And like you are a tourist, like it's when you feel like you're a tourist in the city you were born in, is like kind of where this title comes from. Like and especially like me being like in my hometown and just like over time, like growing up, sometimes you may feel like you don't fit in, but
Mhm.
also you don't really feel like you belong in the place that you are at the same time, and you look at things differently, you look at your surroundings differently over
Mhm.
time, and like the people around you, like your views change. And it's important to acknowledge that that happens, because that's part of again, one of my favorite phrases, the human experience. And I think that's like very universal. But that can, and like when I mentioned that that one is ageless, that can happen at any time in your life, really.
Mhm.
But yeah, so my next one of my favorite bands, "You Only Live Once" by The Strokes. I
Mhm.
love the guitar part. It's another certified toe tapper. It's very upbeat, and it always makes me groove a little bit. I always have a better day when I listen
Mhm.
to The Strokes, honestly. But it talks a lot about how everyone's life experience is different, I think.
Mhm.
And my note for this one is, in moving past conflict, because what's the damn point
Mhm.
of just like keeping conflict in your mind and like arguing with people? Like I've started to like stress like a lot in my life and like in my relationships with people and like communicating that if you have a conflict, rather than ignoring it and like, you know, just keeping things like both parties like negative attitude, instead of that, why don't you just work through it? Because if you sit with this conflict, you're not going to be happy, and
Hmm.
you're not going anywhere, and you kind of just need to like I said, what's the damn point
Hmm.
in just in any of that? So I really like that part of the song, and it's kind of just about how like you overthink everything, just live your life. Just live your life. But there's also like a love aspect to this because there's always a love aspect in your life in some way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. And it's about how like in a partnership, the other person can struggle sometimes. And it's about like waiting for the person you love to figure their shit out.
Mhm.
Because sometimes like especially like in relationships where someone has like a mental illness, watching that can be hard, and you know that person can be stuck and you just have to watch it sometimes, and sometimes you just have to realize like, hey, you need to work on that yourself, brother. And it's kind of just like having the patience to do
Mhm.
that, because sometimes that can be really hard, and like that's something that has been an issue in my relationships in the past, and that's been an issue in like a lot of like my friends' relationships also. So I think that's like a really important message. And plus,
Mhm.
like the title, "You Only Live Once." So live your life because it
Mhm.
is the only one that you are gonna have, you know,
Mhm.
and you need to make the best of it.
Yeah.
So that's the end of my section.
Well, that actually ties very nicely into my next song, which is called "What Are You Waiting For" by Nickelback. But
Oh
it,
no.
yeah, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know,
No.
I know, I know, I know, I know. I don't know, but I know.
It's the only one I'm gonna judge you for.
That's fine. That's fine. I totally deserve it. So I used to do this thing where I would, so maybe I've told you this story before at one point or another, but my buddy Sean and I were reading this book. It's called If, so it's if questions pretty much. And one of the questions was, if you had 10 minutes to live, what would you do? So naturally, this one kind of like stumped us. We were like, I don't know, what would I do if I had 10 minutes to live? That's weird. So it took us about like an hour for us to put together our list of like, hey, this is what I like, here's all the things that I'd want to do in 10 minutes. And this is where this is how I'd achieve this. Not knowing for like understanding full well for the both of us, like, hey, we if we really had 10 minutes to live, we would have been dead 50 minutes ago. So that kind of gave us like a moment of pause where we were like, ugh, this sucks. What are we gonna do with this new knowledge, even though it's not new? Like, hey, you never know what's gonna happen, so what are we waiting for? So we came up with this thing where we called it like, hey, I'm gonna tell you you have 10 minutes to live, and then you're gonna go do something that you possibly didn't think that you were ever going to do, and just have the courage to actually go do it. So I called him up one day and I said, dude, you have 10 minutes to live, go. So what did he do? He went and punched someone in the face. It's like, great. Thanks, buddy, for that. Not exactly what I had in mind, but he was like, I never would have had the guts to do it, but thanks for that. But he called me up one day. He said, you have 10 minutes to live, go. And I got the courage to ask the girl next door out. Like, cool. Okay. So we would do this periodically for one another, but it was the summer of 2007, when you were 5 years old and all that shit, which really bums me out, but it's all good. I was in college and I was working for this summer job for like leadership development for high school kids. And one of the things that we talked about was leadership and how when you're a leader, your core things that make you a leader, it's not necessarily based on a title, it's based on your core values, your your words and or something like that, and but your actions matter a lot. So I would pose this question to these kids and or students rather, I shouldn't call them kids, and say, hey, what are some things you want to do before the end of your life? What if you had 6 months to live? What if you had 1 month to live? What if you had 1 week to live? What if you had 10 minutes to live? And the 10 minutes to live one always stumped people because they would always be like, oh, I'd apologize to this person that I've been holding on to all of this anger for all this time. I'd call my mom and I'd tell her that I'd love her. You get things like that because you only got 10 minutes. You don't have a lot of time. But then I'd flash the words on the screen. What are you waiting for? Like, you don't need 10 minutes to live to do some of this stuff. You could just go out and do some of this
Yeah.
stuff right now.
Yeah.
So so I gave them 10 minutes. In reality, yes, I could have picked the two songs that I I played during this because if you add up both the times, it is 10 minutes. But I picked those for other lists. So, and I told myself that I wasn't going to repeat songs, but what this just conveys the whole messaging behind it, even if it is by a band that I know is somehow universally hated. But and yes, I'm I give you full clearance to give me a little bit of shit for this, and that's fine. But
They're cringe
the
sometimes. That's
so,
it. It's
so,
just cringe
some
times.
sometimes really you don't have to say sometimes to make me feel better. It's fine. I get it. So, but yeah, the the whole concept of what are you waiting for, like, kind of goes nicely with the hey, live your life, and kind of just back ends to the well, what are you waiting for to live your life.
Yeah.
My next one, I like wanted to come up with a couple songs. My original list had like a bunch of songs where it represented like me, like my desire to like be there for other people, because I know that's very important to me as an individual. And the one that I settled on was it's called Brother by Need to Breathe and Gavin DeGraw. Yeah, it's just one of like I didn't want to pick one that were on the nose, like Lean on Me, or there's a couple other ones like there's one by Bruno Mars, like You Could Count on Me, all that stuff. But
Hmm.
this one, I like this because it's got a powerhouse vocal performance. It's a little bit more on the subtle side with acoustic guitar, which hey, give me an acoustic remix to anything, and I will listen to it.
Hell
But
yeah.
this one, yeah, just conveys that I I do like being there for people. I do like being reliable, and you know, I also understand that sometimes being there for people doesn't mean that you're giving people advice. Sometimes it's just about listening. There's nothing wrong with that as well.
Hmm.
And my last one, this is where this is where my slam poet comes in. So it's called Flashy Words. I listened to this poem at I was listening to it when I was doing a college visit, actually. And they were talking about this in the sociology class about the impact of words. And of course, you don't like when you're in high school, you don't think all the time about the impact that your words are going to have.
Yeah.
Shit, even as an adult, sometimes you don't think about the impact that your words are going to have. But this one, like, because the poem's called Flashy Words, and it starts with flashy words make the world turn, but it doesn't turn right. And the just the way that the lyrics all flow together and they talk about words and how it uses the words very carefully. Like some of the things that they said, it's like there's no satisfaction in knowing that your life could be one of the saddest fictions ever written. So take your not so satisfactory life back to the satisfactory to be reconfigured to live right. It's like, ooh, ooh,
Ooh.
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 There's there's a lot of stuff like that. Like I also appreciate anytime that anytime that like that God is referred to as a female as well. I
Hmm.
I, I love that
Me
because
too. Me
it's
too.
like look, I'm not the most religious person on the face of the planet, but anybody
Hmm.
who thinks out there that God is exclusively is a man, it's like, dude, patriarchy. Really? Seriously? So,
Boo.
but yeah, this it's one of those where I I have this on like my YouTube like favorite anything because it's like, hey, sometimes I need to hear this just to, get me pumped up for the day. But also I found it on Spotify and I'm like, fuck yeah, and I added
Hell
it to
yeah.
this. So yeah, that is my last one
Uh,
for this group.
Oh, I love slam poetry. Any kind
Hmm.
of poetry. It's just a song basically in a different form
Hmm.
without like the instrumental sometimes, you know. Sometimes
Yep.
you got an instrumental, but like poetry is a very like it hits hard. Like
Hmm.
everyone thinks poetry hits hard. So if you're out there listening and you don't like poetry, you should reconsider.
See, anybody who doesn't like poetry just has not found the poet for them yet. That's it.
Oh yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's
Exactly.
that my daughter used to say something like that when or like when she started at daycare and she would be talking about somebody and be like, "Oh, is that your friend?" It's like, "Nope, we're not friends yet, but we will be soon." Like,
I love
yeah,
that. I love the
yeah,
optimism.
yeah,
I love it.
that's kids for you in a nutshell. So, all right, give me so you've got a choice here because I
Hmm.
believe we're down to oh no, never mind.
I have
You should
6
have
left.
6 left. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I do have a repeat artist in this set, so apologize. Oh, the world's gonna end. But my first one is called Never Enough by Rex Orange County, which is phenomenal. He's a phenomenal artist. His name is Alex. But this is from one of his earlier albums, Apricot Princess, which is also very good. It's got a very gritty instrumental to, as I put it, convey no fucks given.
Mm,
And I think that's very important. You know, it's a very
mhm,
important thing to kind of, it's a good mindset to have in your life. Like, don't give
mhm,
a fuck,
mhm.
because what's the point?
Um,
And it talks a lot about like different aspects of your life because it's kind of just like this is like an ageless song, I would say also because it's something like a reminder we need to like have a lot in our life. That it's called Never Enough. Like it's about thinking you're not enough, and like it's okay to not be okay, but
mhm,
also like take time for yourself, you know?
mhm, mhm,
And it talks a lot about like, or it talks a little bit about how family relationships can be difficult, and you just need to get out and prove them wrong. Like, hey, like sometimes you feel like you're never enough for your family. Like there's
mhm,
family pressure, but you just need to say, hey, fuck you, I can do this
mhm,
and do it. And it talks a little bit about how it talks a little bit about loss and how loss in like any way, shape, or form happens. And it can
mhm,
be hard to move on from, but it's necessary to do
mhm,
it at the end of the day because loss and like the negative feelings and emotions that come with that carry you down. They will weigh you down. And you need to kind of move past that. And that's, I think, like the instrumental part really sells like all of these like ideas. It's a very screamy song too. It's another scratch your brain song. I believe this is another one that I pulled off of Songs That Would Save Me from Vecna
mhm,
or in like similar adjacent playlists. So I really like that one. And also kind of like talks about how you can rely on people when you need help. Like it is okay to do that, you know, because a lot of us have, everyone has a fear sometimes of like, I can't go to people when when shit is hard.
mhm,
And because I don't want to put that on other people or I don't want to like show vulnerability or emotion or weakness and but that's okay. That's okay.
mhm,
Everybody has those experiences in some way, shape, or form. Everyone has felt that way at some time. And it serves as a good reminder that, hey, you're not alone in that experience. So I really like that one. And I think that's a good album. I think he's similar to Declan McKenna. His lyrics are a little bit weird. Like one of his lyrics in the songs is, if this were a movie, you'd be taking our kids to school and I would be Channing Tatum or somebody sexy, somebody cool,
mhm,
you know? Just this idea, you know, like, oh, in my mind, I imagine, like maybe that I could be this like perfect person, but like it's not
Yeah.
always gonna be that way. We're not all
Mhm.
gonna be Channing Tatum.
No,
So
nope.
I really like that.
Unfortunately not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good message.
My
I like that one a lot.
I like that one a lot too. My next one is called Either Way by Wilco. This is Either Way. It- this is another one of my favorite bands that I grew up listening to. My best friend, may he rest in peace, my dog, was named after this band. It's my mom's favorite band. So I was raised on this song, and I think that was it was really important for me to be raised on this song because it's the message is life goes on either way. It's like the title.
Mhm.
And there will be good days and there will be bad days. And I think that's one of the things that like makes this like an ageless song, but it is more since the artists are older, like it has more of a mature tone to it, which is why I put it so late in the playlist. And because it talks about also more like old relationships, like long-term relationships and kind of like those that have ended, but you've moved past it and are
Mhm.
clinging on at the same time. Because I think we all have that, at the end of the day, especially like getting out of a long-term relationship and, moving on to be with someone else, maybe like still, we all in some way in the back of our minds have some tie to that
Mhm.
relationship. And, it's important to acknowledge that. That's just human, especially like if you love someone, like sometimes you're just never gonna stop loving that person. And especially if like a relationship has ended just because, life just wasn't working out or it just wasn't the right time. That's kind of the time when you need that like reminder. And it also has this message that like if it doesn't work out, it's okay, it happens. Like that's just life. And I think that's like a really important message, which is why I put that one on there because like a lot of the songs on this playlist have that kind of message, but this is on the slower, like softer side,
Mhm.
and that has more of like in like most music, more of like a raw feeling to it. Like this is, I would say, one of their more like raw songs. That song really helped me through a serious relationship breakup, and I would recommend that for anyone who's also going through that. Yeah. My last one is the repeat artist. It's called Death of an Interior Decorator, by Death Cab for Cutie. And I think this song I picked out is for like moms and but like parents, but also mostly mothers because it is like has like a female perspective. Um, and this is like a later age thing, so which is why it's later. It's a song for mothers who feel stuck in a rut, like life is just the same every day,
Mhm.
and feeling like maybe you're not going anywhere, and aging can feel like a long, drawn out process sometimes. Like you're just like, what even is life anymore,
Mhm.
And it talks about like infidelity briefly and ignoring infidelity, which can tear you down mentally. But a lot of people, especially like in marriage, I don't have this experience, but this is just something that like I've like observed is just like people in relationships where the other person is cheating, if you've been in it for a long time, sometimes you'll just let it happen because you don't want to lose that person. And like that's a hard thing to watch and
Mhm.
experience because you're not feeling the love truly anymore, but
Mhm.
you do still love each other at the same time. And that's a very like it's a yin and yang almost type situation is the best way I can put that. But it also talks about like watching your kids grow,
Mhm.
grow up, get married, and it can feel numbing sometimes.
Yeah.
You don't want to see your kids grow up. You but also, you want the best for them at the same time. So obviously this is not an experience that I have. but I really wanted to put this one on there because I feel like that's like something that so many people out there experience, and it will happen to someone at some point in their life
Hmm.
in some way, shape, or form. Or maybe you don't want a family, but you know, maybe you don't want to get married, but you'll
Hmm.
experience it in some way, shape, or
In
form.
some, and
Yeah.
that's a good way to put that, because if you're right, if you don't want to get married, if you don't want kids, there's nothing wrong with that, but you will experience that fundamental feeling that you're talking about at some point in your
Yeah.
life. It's,
Yeah.
it's inevitable. Sorry, it just is. But yeah, like this is a song that I've heard of, but I've never actually listened to it. Um,
I
so now
really
it's
recommend that album. It's called Transatlanticism. I grew up on that album also.
mhm.
It's been an ageless album for me. And I think the songs have like changed in meaning over time for me, but also stayed the same. But Death Cab for Cutie, obviously I put two of their songs on here. They're a very great band. Older also. So like obviously this
Jesus,
song is from like a
not that old.
listen,
Like, are you
listen,
kidding me?
older than like older than like what my my peers would consider it older.
Fine, fine. I will.
Uh,
I'll allow it. That's fine. I get what you're saying. All right, we're on the home stretch with my last three, and then you'll take us home with your final three. And if I thought honestly about the three that I picked to end these all come from movies of some type. One's kind of a movie, but I'll explain it in a minute. And these all come towards the end of the movies as well because they all, they all had a moment like with the like in these movies where it just kind of leaves a mark on you and you remember like certain aspects of it. So, and these are where my two instrumental pieces come in. So the first one is from Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. It is called Samwise the Brave. It is the part. Well, first of all, have you seen Lord of the Rings? I can't hear you.
I turned my mic off to drink my
It's all,
water. Sorry.
it's all good.
But I it's complicated because I live in a family of read the book before you watch the movie, and I just have not had too much of an interest to get into Lord of the
That's
Rings.
that's fair. I cannot blame anybody who feels that way because
Yeah.
those books are dense as fuck. And more
Yes.
importantly, I
Yes.
haven't even read the Lord of the Rings books.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, but I've seen all the movies. I
Hmm.
love the movies. In fact, the middle one, which is where this comes from, The Two Towers, is my favorite movie of all time. And the reason why is because I'll never forget the theater going experience that I had watching it because it was just really cool. But there is a speech that happens at the end when you think all is lost. And I have the whole speech memorized because I love it. I love it that much. But it ends with, it's like, hey, by all rights, we shouldn't be here. But we are, like I don't want to say the whole thing, but I might have to. No, I'm not going to. But it pretty much says, in your darkest of times, you know, people have a choice to make in dark times. They can turn around or they can run away from it or they could turn around and fight. And, you know, and the whole thing the main thing that you hold on to is there's some good in this world and it's worth fighting for. And like the first time I heard that, I was like, oh, that's that's a core memory for me right there.
Hmm.
And it's what I have on my first tattoo as well, is that
Oh, I
there's
love
good in
that.
this world and it's worth fighting for. So there's that. My number two is from the movie Doctor Strange,
Oh yes.
one of my favorite composers, Michael Giacchino. It's called Ancient History, and it is. Have you seen Doctor Strange?
Of course I have. Big Marvel fan. Big Marvel
Okay,
fan.
so there is a part in Doctor Strange, the first one, not the second one, the
I
first
figured,
one,
yeah.
where the Ancient One is dying, and her spirit form, her astral form, has left her body, and she is looking at a lightning bolt, and like It's like I've prevented countless history or futures. And I always end at this point, and her and Steven are having this conversation about like, what does your future hold? Uh, and she says like how I didn't see your future. I saw its possibilities. You have such a capacity for goodness, but you
Hmm.
lack the like one fundamental thing that has kept you from greatness. And he thinks it's because, you know, he thinks it's because he's afraid. But the Ancient One says the one thing that you're missing from all of this, from preventing you from being great, is the notion it's not about you. It's never about you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing that gets him to like turn around and be like, oh yeah. So,
Yeah.
and like that line and the way that it's delivered is the reason why Doctor Strange is like one of my favorite all-time Marvel movies because, just that whole thing about it's not about you. And I get it. A lot of the heroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe have had to have that similar
Yeah.
that similar conversation or that similar realization. But this was spelled out in a way that's like, oh, yeah, that's
It's a
good.
very real spelling it out.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because especially like Iron Man and Thor, I would say that's like they're now we got into Marvel, but that's
Yeah.
also like, they have to like get over their egos, you
Yep.
know.
And
Yeah.
and Tony, or not Tony, Steven had to get over his ego as well. And
Yeah.
Iron Man had I think Iron Man had like one of the harder come to Jesus moments where like that guy who helped him out in the cave, says like don't waste your life. And then Thor just figures it out, I guess.
Yeah.
But
In the first movie, what?
and then but Doctor Strange, he's talented. He's lost the only thing that he's been like truly talented at, and now he's learning this new thing, and it's just, yeah, if he's going to serve, he's got to realize it's not about him. So
Yeah, exactly.
my last song, I thought like finding out which or like figuring out which song I was going to end this with, I really struggled with this
Hmm.
because what is something that I could like put a cap on this, like to convey a message that I want to convey, but also have it be like a powerhouse song. And I think I eventually came to the conclusion I can't have I like it doesn't have to be a powerhouse song as long as it has a powerhouse message. And then I continue to think, well, what do I know out there that has like a powerhouse message at the end of like a soundtrack? I'm like, God, that's a lot of songs. Or
Yeah.
that's like a lot of movies. And then I was like, well, it doesn't always have to be a movie. It could also be like a play. And then I just went down this Broadway like rabbit hole of like what are some of like the best songs to end like Broadway songs, in my opinion, obviously, because me,
I'm
Broadway, yeah, I'm clearly a aficionado of all things Broadway. But the 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 last play or a recent play that I saw, because everybody's seen it, the way Hamilton ends is not exactly how I thought it was going to end. Not
hmm
so much because I didn't know that Hamilton was going to die, because if you know anything about history, you do know that he dies. He never becomes president. He never, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and for all the faults of the show about like not addressing things like slavery and all that stuff, yeah, like I do understand that. But the last song is not exactly what you expect because it is so incredibly solemn and just not like your typical Broadway like showstopper that you would expect from something like this. But it just when the last song you have just starts with, let me tell you what I wish I'd known when I was young and dreamed of glory. You have no control who lives, who dies, who tells your story. And I was like, yeah, that's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, so if you cannot control who tells your story, what's left for there for you? What is left for you to do? The only thing that's left is for you just to make the most of the time that you have left. That's it.
Yeah.
Uh, so I was like, okay. And this was the first song that I knew that this was going to be like I was gonna put this song last. Like I just knew that. So yeah, that's my list.
I like that you chose a Broadway song for your final one because like Broadway songs, especially like the last, like the closer is the hitter. Well, it's
Mhm.
not always like the hitter, but like
A vast
it
majority of
hits.
times
Yeah,
it's supposed
yeah,
to hit. Yeah.
yeah. Like Les Mis is my favorite musical. Now I can't remember. Now I'm like blanking on what the last song is, so we're gonna look at
We're
that.
gonna take a quick detour.
Well, the true like and well, anyway, songs like you know, One Day More. That's like a good I recommend Broadway to people out there who don't listen to Broadway songs or musicals. Give them a
Do
shot.
it. Do it. Yeah.
Yes, do it.
See,
Um,
just like the poetry thing, you just haven't found the musical for you yet. And
yeah,
that's
exactly, exactly. Not every musical is for everyone. I don't like every musical. I'm selective. But because I don't really like Broadway tone too much, so I kind of go for more of like movie adaptations of musicals. But tangent, oops. I actually have four songs left.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Rattle them all off. It's all good.
All right. We got first is this is also like a more of a dad rock song. It's in the genre field of alternative country, which is the only kind of country I like besides like bluegrass and like older country like Johnny Cash. But it's called Nights Like These. It's by Lucero. I think this is very representative of like your middle-aged years, but also like can be in like your late 20s. It's just something about like heartbreak while aging.
Mm,
So going through heartbreak, but also growing at the same time, not exactly from it, but just like in general in your life. So like the having the presence of heartbreak in your life essentially. And it's kind of like about being hopeless in love even
mhm,
after the relationship is over, and the other person has found someone and that hurts to see, you know? And that's like something especially like I know I've experienced that. I know everyone at some point has experienced that in their life. And that's kind of something like we kind of just put aside in our life and like in the back of our mind, and it kind of just weighs on us a little bit. Kind of
mhm,
just like a little rock sitting on your brain, I guess is the best way to put it. It's got a little bit about using alcohol to cope with that.
mhm.
I'm sure everyone maybe at some point has used alcohol to cope with something.
Yeah.
Adults, obviously, but
I mean, I'm not going to be naive to think that it's just adults that do this.
yeah,
So,
no, I know a good amount of teenagers out there that have even like unfortunately like in their early, late teens like have experienced that, and that's just like been so hard to watch. But that's hard to watch anyone do at any age, honestly. And it's kind of like about feeling like you're not good enough for the person that you love, which happens to all of us at some point in time.
you know,
We all feel like we're not good enough at some point. And the tone of the song, it's a very like raw, it's alternative country, so it's a very like twangy guitar, but
mhm.
he also has a very like like kind of like that raspy, you know, like a diet Tom Waits. The way I'm gonna convey
But I get exactly what you mean, though. That's the problem.
it.
So, all right, cool. All right,
Yeah,
yeah.
diet Tom Waits.
Mhm,
Good artist for anyone out there. Tom Waits is very underrated. He
mhm,
doesn't get enough recognition. But like his tone kind of conveys like a sort of pain. And like we all need to listen to music that conveys pain at some point
mhm.
because we all experience pain.
Yeah.
And, having, you know, everyone will listen to sad songs when they're sad, sometimes, or happy songs to make you feel better. It's up to
Mhm,
you how you feel that day. But, you kind of just need to listen to songs that make you feel the same way, I guess, to feel like, yo, I'm not alone in this.
Yep.
So that's why I chose that one. My next one is Carry That Weight by the Beatles.
Mm.
Huge, huge Beatles fan. This is it goes into another song, or no, another song goes into it, which is very common with the Beatles. But I put this towards the end, but I think this song is for anyone of any age. But it is very much of like it feels like a closer because
Yeah.
it is a closer to the album, and because it's on Abbey Road, I'm sure, but not enough people listen to all of Abbey Road. Listen to all of Abbey Road.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that is
yeah,
absolutely true.
yeah, but in order,
Oh, yeah.
essential. But it's for people who carry a lot of trauma, but and they need to work on getting over it and living life to the fullest. And that's like this song really helped me when I was graduating high school in 2020. And it was quarantine and
It
I'm
was,
leaving
yeah.
high school, that's the time. So I would just drive around listening to Abbey Road. Like
Mm.
to get out of the house, I would just drive around listening to Abbey Road. And this was like my number one song, my blast it with the windows down. Like I love this song. And it's about like living life with a weight on your shoulders, and that can be difficult when you don't communicate the burdens that you like shoulder with other people. Like,
Hmm.
you kind of need to communicate with others. You need to be open about how you feel, or you're never gonna heal. Like if you bottle everything, if you keep everything to yourself, you're just gonna feel like shit. And don't do that. It is okay to feel your feelings and to share them. So I really love that song. I love that song forever. The next one I have is another love song. I put this towards the end because I also think like this is like I don't I don't really know why I put this towards the end. I think this can go like anywhere in your life, but
Hmm.
it's about like being in love, and sometimes love is confusing. And
What? No, that's crazy.
yeah, no, what?
Yeah,
But like it's it's about a
that's
lot about being like desperate in love, which is a
mm,
common experience that we don't really talk about enough. And
no.
like this like idea, it's another song of like having a crush, or like you're in a relationship and sometimes it can feel like this in a relationship. It's kind of like this, we should be together, but also like our our feelings like is my feeling requited? I don't
Hmm.
know, but would really like it to be. It feels like it is. And just like wanting to escape with the other person, like just wanting to just run away from it all because you love this person so much that you just want them to be your life because love is such a powerful feeling. It drives so much of what all of us do as like humans.
Yep.
And I think I put this on here specifically because like love has been a core part of my life and like relationships in like any form, but like I know it has influenced so much of who I am as a person, but also like just it's been my life,
Hmm.
and this is kind of like off a little bit, but a lot of people are hesitant to talk about love and to be like raw and open and honest, but it's important to because or like talking about breakups or like your exes, like everyone's like, don't talk about your ex. That was part of your life experience. That
Hmm.
changed you as a person in some way, shape, or form. And we need to be we need to be acknowledging that, you know?
Because in a relationship, if you take nothing away from a relationship, even one that didn't work out, then you're not looking hard enough for
No.
what what happened there. Because yeah, it may have ended ugly, but at the same time, you could always take something away from any relationship, whether it's positive or constructive, you know?
Hmm.
So yes, I do fully agree with you that we don't it's but in people's defense slightly, it's hard. It's really hard
It is hard.
to talk about that stuff. But when you eventually get to a point where you can talk about it, yeah, just
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I also really like the instrumental part of this song. It's very upbeat. It's very like groovy is the best way to put it. It conveys like the joy and the ecstasy that love can bring you, which is something that we all experience at some point in time. Like we're all like
Yeah.
happy in love at some
Mhm.
point, or maybe not. Sorry to whoever, but like
Well,
that's
even if
yeah.
it's not, hold on, wait a second. Even if it's not romantic love,
Yeah,
like
exactly. It doesn't have
it
to be
could
romantic love.
it could be the love that you experience with a friend. It could be the love that you experience with a pet, different things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, love is universal. Yeah, so I really like that song. Did I
Wait,
even say what
what?
it's called?
I don't
It's
think you
called,
did.
no, I didn't. Oops. It's called Ruthless by the Marias. Very good band. I would recommend. Some of their songs are in Spanish, because the lead singer is Hispanic. But so good, so good. I recommend to anyone, even if you don't know Spanish, or go and learn Spanish. Because mine is not great, but I still listen to the Marias all the time. But my last song is Time in a Bottle by Jim. I don't know how to pronounce his name, last name.
Like, I think it's
Cro
Croce,
Croce?
Croce.
Okay. Yeah. This one I pulled from the American Horror Story soundtrack, really. It's where I got this one.
Which
And
season?
it's from Apocalypse, which is the eighth season.
Hmm.
Big American Horror Story fan. I've seen it more than Chuck, but I think like I think pulling from media, like soundtracks to shows, like it's like a music video
Hmm.
essentially. It's just a music video in a different form. It's a different interpretation. But this song is played when it's these people who after this like nuclear fallout like are in this shelter after apocalypse. It's just like I don't even remember how many people. Like, it's like 10 or something. And they have to just live, and it's run by what is called this collective, where every day before dinner they have like a little happy hour in a lounge, and the
Hmm.
same song plays every day.
Hmm.
And one of the songs that was on like the radio was this song, Time in a Bottle. And this is like the end of the world, and you know that's kind of why I put it as like the closer. Also,
Hmm.
it's just kind of it's very much like an end of your life type song, I would say. So I picked this one as like my old age song at the same time. And it's about like wanting love to last forever, and living for a person. And like, you know, you feel like there's never enough time in the day or the months or the years to do all the things you want to with the person you love the most. Because, everybody, like, I know in my relationship, I've been like, oh, like, let's go do this today, or like, we have to do this at some point. But, life gets busy and you can't always do that stuff. And, it's important to try and make time to do those things, because
Hmm.
like you only live once and you should make the most of it while you have it. And it's about, maybe you find a partner where they become like sort of your life and a huge part of your goals in life. Like you want to do those things with that person. You want to go through life, live the human experience with that person. So I think that's like a really important message. And like just recognizing that you found your person, which can be such a good, like freeing thing and an experience feeling. Uh, because we all like go through life. Like a lot of people have like the goal of marriage in mind at some point. And
Sure.
like
Yeah.
you spend your life searching for that person, and knowing that you found that person can be such a good feeling. And like you're done searching. And so I really like that one, that the point of the song. But there's also the idea that death is scary, and the fear of loss of the things that you love can be controlling in some way. But that doesn't even that doesn't just apply to like romantic relationships, like in family, friends, even like doing the things you love. You
Hmm.
know, you're just dying is scary and you're scared of losing the things you love in your life. And I think that is the reason why I chose this as like my closer. But American Horror Story, great soundtrack. Shout out. Yeah. So yeah, that is the
See,
end of my playlist.
so it's funny because that song was on, it was on my first draft of this. And for me, I always think of X-Men Days of Future Past whenever I see that song.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
that's the Quicksilver scene. That's the song that he's playing when he is,
Evan Peters?
yeah. Yes,
I forgot about that.
American Horror Story legend, Evan Peters.
Uh,
Yeah.
I
So
wonder which one came first. I wonder if they saw him with that song and they were like, we just need to put him with that song again.
yeah, it's a good question. I don't
I'm
know.
gonna have to look I'm gonna have to look that up later.
All right. Last question I have for you before I let you go. If your CD or if your mix CD was an actual album, what would be the cover?
Yeah, so we talked about this beforehand, but my the picture that I chose for my playlist cover, because I'm a big photographer and I put a lot of thought into the covers of my playlist, is a picture of the sunset on my favorite old oak trees in my local park. Because I love a good old oak tree. But the reasons why I chose that is because oaks are like they I would I love trees, but I
Mhm,
would say are like the trees that have the most soul to them, the biggest like longest like story. I would say
mhm.
they live forever and they're like I think they are very representative of life. So, and everyone loves a good sunset. It's a pretty picture, and I would maybe choose it for an album cover. But it's also not very album covery. But
Not with that attitude.
you know what? I could make it album covery, and you know what? Now I can't think of like any other ideas that I would have. So I'm just gonna stick with like what I have.
Yeah, good, good call out for that. I posed this question even though I don't have an answer for myself, so I'm going to stall for a second and try to figure out something. I think one that I'm going to pick is I've got a picture of me standing on top of a desk at a lecture hall at Stanford University teaching a bunch of kids about that scene where he says, "Oh, Captain, my Captain." So I feel like that one,
I like that.
yeah, I
I
feel
like
like
that.
that would be pretty emblematic of that. So yeah, that would be my album cover. So quick aside, can you resend your playlist to me and I will send you mine as well?
Yeah.
And are
Yeah.
you okay with me attaching the playlist to the podcast episode?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I would love that because not everyone is always gonna go out of their way to listen to songs, and
Mhm.
people should. Hopefully, we're convincing enough to get
Yes,
people to listen to them.
I I agree. Well, Raven, thank you very
Thank
much for
you.
your time. It is currently 1:15 in the morning, so thank you very much for your time. If the people want to shower you with compliments because of your playlist, or if they have any questions for you, where can the people find you? And do you have anything that you want to plug?
Yeah, so first we're gonna plug my Spotify. Now, this one, my username, it's I made this when I was like 14, 15. So do not judge me is the name of an original character I wrote in my novel that I wrote when I was in middle school. But it's Lynette Ave Harper. It's
I'm
LINETTEAV
judging you a little
Harper.
for that.
So listen, I was a writer, I was a nerd, so check
We're
out
all
my
nerds. Stop
Spotify.
it. Yeah.
I have, let's see exactly how many now. 246 public playlists, and I want more clout. So,
All right. There you go.
Spotify clout. But my Instagram is r.and.jpg, which is the best, I'd say most representative fun social media platform of mine. That's also my TikTok if anyone is interested in that. So I also post a lot about music stuff.
Mhm,
So like news, songs, of like a wide variety of stuff. I have a wide variety of genres in my playlist,
mhm,
like artists. There's something for everyone in my stuff. So check my stuff out, pretty
mhm.
please.
Yeah, full-heartedly endorse that because Raven knows what they're talking about when it comes to music. So listen to their takes. It's,
Thank you. Thank
very
you.
much so. That's part of the reason why I decided to reach out in the first place because I saw that you were posting a lot of stuff and I was like, I think you'd be great on this podcast, and you definitely delivered for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Follow Raven on Spotify with her ridiculous name from when she was 14. And yeah, we'll definitely go from there.
Thank you. This was so fun. I didn't know I needed to do something like this in my
Mhm,
lifetime. This is like everything that
mhm.
this is like the discussions that I want to have with people every day, but don't.
Well, I'm gonna stop. Well, my friends, the time has come to end this episode of Mix CD. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to anything and everything SPDM Crew wherever you get your podcast. Join us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, YouTube, and Blue Sky at SPDM Crew. Check out our website soon to be out at spdmcrew.com. You can follow our playlist on Spotify and Apple Music at Mike Hilty. Shout out to High Flyer Creative Studios for making our awesome logo. Greatly appreciate their support. And if you have any marketing, logo, or brand standard needs, contact them at highflyercreative.com. If you've got a podcast idea or you're interested in being part of the SPDM crew as a guest or collaborating, email us at spdmcrew@gmail.com. Until next time, no matter what happens now, you shouldn't be afraid because I know today has been the most perfect day I've ever seen.